Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everybody's a Critic, Pop's very own podcast. We're bringing it back for a new weekly format for Doctor Who Season 2. This will be our spoiler discussion of the brand new season of the hit BBC and Disney Plus show. This week, I am joined by the wonderful Christopher Mills. How are you doing, Chris?
I am doing well. I am so glad to be here to talk Doctor Who with you, Josh.
I am very honoured to have you here. If you haven't already checked out Chris's coverage of the series, you can check it out on Agents of Fandom. I will make sure to link that very first review, as well as many others, down below in the links or whichever platform you are streaming on. Brilliant. So, the very first episode this season is titled The Robot Revolution. It's written by Russell T Davies, and we get our first interaction with new companion Belinda Chandra, played by Varada Sethu. So, Chris, what are your initial thoughts on Belinda as a companion? How has she started for you?
My initial thoughts straight out the door is that I love her just as much as I fell in love with Ruby. I am in love with these, second era companions for Russell. I think they're written well to start off with. And while it's not Russell's fault, I am seeing comparisons to Martha. Not to say they're the same character, just occupation, new planet. There's just a few similarities that I can find across both Martha and, of course, Belinda. But yeah, I'm loving her so far.
I think she's great, and in terms of obviously we only get a little glimmer of this initial relationship in this first episode, which I'm sure will evolve throughout the season as Belinda and the Doctor go on these adventures, and as they try and get back to Earth. But I really like the dynamic, as you said, between Belinda and the Doctor, as opposed to the Doctor and Ruby. When
Mm,
they separated at the end of the last season, it was very clear Ruby was very much not necessarily in love with the Doctor, but there was definitely a platonic relationship. So it's very nice to
yeah,
see Belinda in this first episode be quite hesitant and resistant towards the Doctor. She knows he's a dangerous character, but she's
yeah.
still willing to put that trust in him, which was really sort of great to see. And from that very first scene with Belinda and Alan, she is a very strong, independent character that I think Russell has clearly taken time creating and giving her this persona that I think will really settle and sit well throughout this season. So I'm really excited to see how she develops as a character.
No, 100% agree, especially when it comes to her relationship with the Doctor. It's very different to what we've gotten with Ruby and the Doctor, and just any companion we've kind of gotten in the past. Obviously, companions eventually, stand up against the Doctor, but this is like straight out the gate, first episode, first meeting. She understands him in the sense of like she knows what type of person this is. He scanned her DNA without saying anything, and she's noticed that straight away. She's not just
Yeah.
walked it off. So no, yeah, I love that about her.
One of the most interesting aspects about Belinda isn't even in her character, it's the fact that she shares a road with a very iconic character. Obviously, in that sequence where she's abducted by the robots, the Miss Belinda Chandra bots, we find out that good old Mrs. Flood, played by Anita Dobson, is actually a neighbor. She's next door to Belinda, and we get that very interesting interaction where she breaks the fourth wall again, going, "You ain't seen me." So
Yeah,
what was your initial reaction after that scene? Obviously, having last season seen Mrs. Flood as the nosy neighbor for Ruby, that seems to have we know she moved at the end of season one, and now she's positioned herself very close to Belinda. What are we thinking?
I find it so funny that she's just moving to wherever the Doctor's companions may be to be their neighbors and poke and see what's going on. She's an intriguing character. I know people really want to find out more about her. I'm certain we'll find out more about her in this season. Obviously, the season finale, Empire of Death. sporting the fur coat, had the suitcase ready. We now know where she went, telling us that, the Doctor story ends in absolute terror. And now she's here in this first episode, Robot Revolution, and she's seen the Doctor in this scene. And she's told us, we ain't seen her, not to tell
Yeah,
anyone, which obviously ironic because we're all going to be talking about it,
yeah.
and not keep it a secret. But I find it fascinating and just interesting so far. So I hope Russell does have something special in store for us, and not a Ruby's mother situation.
I love that we as an audience have known Mrs. Flood now since Christmas 2023. We have known Mrs. Flood as long as we've known the Doctor, and as you said, we still have no idea who she is. The fact that she is hiding from the Doctor, she's sort of teasing us to say we've not seen her, and in that scene directly after the Doctor shows up, there's clearly history between these characters, or at least she poses a threat potentially to the Doctor. So I am hopeful we see her more this season, but also I really hope that she's no longer the sort of the bystander, and we begin to see
Yeah,
her become involved with the story. Russell has said in interviews and press for the show that obviously she's going to pop up a lot more this time around. What we saw in 73 yards, the
yeah,
church on Ruby Road, and then that double finale. So who knows? It could be another season twist where we get her every episode. I think that would be really cool, building up to however she's involved with the narrative. Um, but no, I'm very excited. She could be the god of fiction. I've seen that theory
could be
floating
a lot of
about.
fiction stories. I think
I
I'll be
really like
happy
that.
if it's like someone from his past that's returned, or if it's the God of Fiction, God of Stories. I think I'll be happy with either one, as long as it lands properly. Like as long as it's executed well enough, I think I'll be happy with either outcome.
Yeah. No, wait. Let's hope she's not Ruby's mum. That'd
Yeah,
be
no
a
reason, but
that'd be
no.
a colossal nightmare for the show, I think. Um, in terms of the episode, obviously it's in the name, the Robot Revolution. I think credit where credit's due. The design and the set, just the overall production design for this first episode is so strong. The red robots, even the design of the AI generator, the prosthetics for Alan.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
we'll be speaking a lot about Alan very shortly, but I just think for an opening episode to look as good as it does is a credit to the whole team behind this episode, and I think that's been one of the best things, despite discussion about the quality of storytelling and the sort of the outcome of season one. I think the overall production has been sublime and some of the best looking Doctor Who for quite some time.
Oh, 100% agree. 100% agree. And obviously, we spoke off camera about this briefly, but the director, Peter Hall, who's worked on, the Umbrella Academy, Netflix's Daredevil, Last of Us, he's worked on like some pretty well directed, well written television. And obviously, he's done Doctor Who in the past, A Good Man Goes to War, and now he's back for obviously this first episode of Robo Revolution, and he'll be back later this season. But this episode is just it's well directed, and it just looks outstanding. It's stunning. I think that's one thing. Whether you end up liking this episode or not, you can't deny how good the episode looks. Like the planet is beautiful. Um, Even like when they're on Earth, I just think like the hospital, like everything just looks nice in this episode. Nothing feels what's the word?
Artificial.
Yeah, artificial. Like the budget's in use. The budget is definitely in use in this episode. So yeah,
Obviously, I touched upon it. I think my biggest issue with this premiere in particular, and I think just by reading a lot of other critics' reviews ahead of release, the issue surrounding Russell's writing and how on the nose he is and sort of treads when dealing with a subplot as quite relevant and modern as this topic of incels. I really struggled connecting with elements of this premiere because of how in your face Russell makes it. I
yeah.
think the first scene with Alan and Belinda's really good because it builds Belinda's character by these sort of micro aggressive behaviors from Alan, the calling a miss, or I'm trying to think, I think something along the lines that he tells her that girls aren't good at maths, something
Yeah,
like that. And those little sort of hints were great in that moment. They were the sort of kept within that scene, and they fit a purpose. But when we find out that this AI generator is Alan, and I think it's the line from Belinda where she calls it the planet of the incels. I
yeah.
I I didn't cringe, but I was like, oh, okay, this is Russell making it very clear what this episode is, and it's all an allegory for incels and coercive control. And it left a sour taste in that moment. It didn't ruin the episode because I think there are so many redeeming qualities in this episode. Um, but I just did not like the incel stuff.
I
Um,
think an issue that I had with it is that, like you said, that opening scene with Alan and Belinda, you get to understand the type of characters that they both are, especially Alan. But then even when we get the backstory of how he even got there,
yeah,
um, we're getting more about him. Like he's seeing this as a video game. He wants to control these people. He wants control. It's why he's so into video games. When you're playing a video game, you have all the control in the world. And I feel like from that, it was just straightforward what type of man he is. I didn't need Russell then telling me Planet of the Incels, like he's an incel. I got
yeah,
it from everything that they were feeding to me. And it's just
yeah,
disappointing because we know Russell is able to handle issues like this well. We've gotten Dot and Bubble in the past, and even like 73 yards with his political statements, it's all written well. Um, so yeah, it's kind of a shame to see that this episode is so in your face, but like you said, it doesn't ruin the episode whatsoever.
no,
There's so many redeeming qualities, like the visuals, especially in the scene where I guess I was always confused watching it, but the Doctor fixing the time fracture, that
yeah,
scene, best looking thing I've seen in Doctor Who in a very long while.
so good. The red, the blue.
Yeah,
It almost felt like a scene that didn't belong in Doctor Who because of how
yeah,
cinematic it felt. Um, I think for me, Russell's handling of this sort of subplot, it really felt like he was trying to spoon feed a lot of the undertones and the messages to the audience when actually I think it could have been done so much better without sort of Russell trying to push us to the answer. I think if it was more of a subtle narrative undertone, which I think in an episode like this he might have struggled doing so. Not just Russell, but any writer. Um,
yeah.
it was a shame. Um, Obviously, I think the big discussion point is nothing to do with Alan or the robots. It's the fact that the TARDIS can't now return to May 24th,
Yeah.
2025, and anyone living under a rock will know that is a Saturday. That is the day that Wish World will be airing. So it's really exciting that, we've had our Bad Wolves, we've had our Torchwood subplot, we've had our um the Darkness is coming in season 4. This is our series long arc, and I'm really hopeful that this could be like not an all-timer, but I have really high hopes. I think the marketing in front of everyone's eyes, that closing moment with all these monuments in space, it's been in front of everyone's faces the whole time, and it was one
Yeah.
of the things that we couldn't discuss in that pre-release review.
Although
And I
they've been
was
shown it on else
they've shown
already.
it to everyone. They've literally showed it to everyone. I just think it's a really exciting way to end the season. Um, and I can't wait. Like, what the hell is happening
Yeah.
on Earth that has sent all these monuments, a taxi, the Empire State, not the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, the Eiffel Tower, the pyramids of Giza.
Yeah.
How are all these things in space? I mean, who is responsible for it? It's really exciting.
I think that's what has me excited for Ruby's episode because is it going to be set on May 24th? Is it a flashback? I think it's going to be intriguing to see what's going on with Unit and Ruby. and obviously her new boyfriend character that we've got coming in.
Oh, it's
Um,
Conrad.
yeah, Conrad. I'm just intrigued to see. I think that's an episode. Besides next week's episode, Lux, that is an episode that I'm anticipating. But I think this lineup of episodes, there's not one single episode where I'm like, don't know how I feel about that. I'm excited for each episode coming out, which
Yeah,
wasn't really for the first season.
I think we're in a sort of I agree. I think if we sort of exclude the finales,
Yeah,
because just like last year, we know very little about the event of the finale. We'd seen more snippets of the finale than in season one compared to now. I think just based off that marketing. But episode two looks. Oh, we've got Alan Cummins. Very excited for that. Episode
yeah,
three. Um, with Rose Ayling Ellis, Christopher Chung. That sort of the well that looks really interesting, and obviously
uh,
there's been rumors, discussion up in the air, but I think let alone the look of that episode without the sort of the on the nose rumor about that episode, it looks really good. Episode four, Unit, Ruby, Conrad looks
yeah,
great. Very excited. Um, Discussion about like Unit hiding secrets from the world. I think it'll be really
yeah,
interesting to get an episode about Unit under the scope. The story in the engine looks absolutely fantastic. Written by Inua Ellams. Um, yeah, a huge spider in that episode by the looks of it. It looks sick. And
Theories of
then
Anansi. If it is Anansi, that will be my favorite episode of all time. So
it just looks really good. And then obviously episode six, the Interstellar Song Contest. I think we are on for. I really hope we're on for a run of eight brilliant episodes. Obviously, the finale last year, I will say it. The first part, the Legend of Ruby Sunday, was an excellent episode. The way they build up Sutek is so good, which is such a shame that it is so let down in that second part. I think partially because of the sort of concluding Ruby's mum storyline. I think that doesn't help that finale. I think there are huge pacing issues. Um, Even though the Doctor bringing death to death sequence is one of my favorite sequences in Doctor Who recent history.
mm,
So, I'm very, very excited for season two.
mm.
Is there, if you had to pick an episode, I think I know what you're going to say, Chris. Which would you say do you think will end up being your favorite and why?
I have. It's hard because I'm excited for so many. Um, so I'm actually going to say three, and I'll just give small little reasons for each one. But the episode five, I believe it is.
Yep. Story in the engine.
Yeah, Serena Engine. That one I'm excited for just because the giant spider, the theories of it supposedly being Nancy. That kind of just goes back to like my roots and where I'm from. So it's like if I get that in Doctor Who, I'll just be so happy to see that and just see the Doctor interact with all of that. Also, the costume design in that episode looks fantastic. Um, and then the unit episode with Ruby, I so badly want a unit spin-off. So whatever happens in this
Does he
episode,
know?
whatever
Does he
happens
know?
in this episode with the world finding out about like trying to find out what's going on in the unit and just what Ruby's been up to since the Doctor's left, because we rarely get to see a companion's life after the Doctor's like left them behind on Earth. So
Mm,
I think that's the selling point for this episode. Seeing
yeah.
what Ruby's been up to. And then Lux, we've seen Mr. Ringading, we've seen the animated cartoon, and that just intrigues me because we've never gotten something like that in Doctor Who before. So I'm expecting it to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping it's a lot of fun. And I'm hoping Russell T Davies is able to pull it off with such a wacky, crazy idea like that. Because either it could be excellent or it could be the worst thing we've gotten. So
It could end up being awful.
yeah, exactly.
We really don't know. Hey, I'm gonna have to join you on the unit episode. I think out of everything we know and we've seen, I think it'll be great to have a Earthbound Doctor Light story. Doctor Light episodes for me, if you look past Love and Monsters, end up being really enjoyable episodes.
Yeah,
And like you said, Unit are such an interesting aspect of the Who universe right now because all of a sudden they've got this huge building in the middle of London. And clearly by the looks of it, they've got hundreds of aliens being kept in their basement. So they've clearly got a few secrets up their sleeve. So diving into that will be very entertaining to say the least.
100%.
Okay, I think, is there anything else that we've missed that we wanted to speak about with this episode? I think we've slated the incel stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm trying to think. To be fair, the time fracture stuff, just to touch on it, was pretty interesting. Just how it was just sending things to different places in time and how that worked with the storyline of the episode. And it's right now it's hard to tell because obviously the Doctor supposedly closed the time fracture, but
yeah,
obviously the effect that's used with the TARDIS being repelled, it seems a lot like time fracture, but it's hard to tell whether it is the time fracture still
yeah, I know what you
or if
mean
it
when
is.
when he's bouncing off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
interesting, very timey-wimey. I think they will potentially explain it, hopefully, in
yeah.
another episode. But yeah, final. Oh, shout out to the polish bot, polish. I love that little guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
the little number, yeah.
very Cybermat-esque. I dived into discussing the Cybermen in my review. I feel like this episode, if you replaced the robots with the Cybermen, it would have still worked. I think have Alan as some new proto cyber leader. Okay, thank you very much for listening. As always, you can check us out on popsnews.com. We are at Pop News on X. We're also on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We will more than likely be there. Do not forget to go and check out all of our Doctor Who coverage on both the Pops website as well as Chris's over on Agents of Fandom. You can find all of our links, socials down below. Once again, thank you very much, Chris, for joining me today. And we will see
Anytime.
you very soon for
Yeah.
some more Everybody's a Critic. Thank you.